Today, we are covering the hottest topic in both modern medicine and integrative health that I bet you have been wondering about. Maybe you've been judging people, maybe you've been considering them for yourself secretly, maybe you're just confused and don't know what the hell is going on. Today, we're going to bring a different lens to the conversation about peptides. These are the semaglutides, the GLP-1s, the GLP-3s. You might have heard of the pharmaceutical push, the Ozempic, the Trizepatide, the Mounjaro, or maybe you're familiar with what's going on in the gray market. The Retatrutide and the Wolverine stacks and the BC1577 and all of this kind of bro science coming out about the peptides. So we're going to talk about this from my perspective. We're not going to get super heady or technical. This will be a bit more of a conversation about what I'm seeing, what I'm experiencing personally, some of the considerations and downfalls that I think people need to be really, really aware of, and how to approach this with more awareness than I think we are getting from other conversations being had in the space. So we'll call this the peptide conversation that you are not going to be able to find anywhere else. And I'm really excited to have it because I have a personal experience with a peptide that I want to share with you. I have a lot of people in my life, some people in my clinic that do peptides, and we have to have some awareness around some things. And if you personally are considering using a peptide for weight loss, for inflammation, for some of the science coming out on all of the other things that it can do, then this is the conversation I want you to hear first. And if you are considering peptides, jump on a consult call with me. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what your options are. Let's talk about if that's the best path or approach for you. Some people don't understand what can be done with natural healing, what can't be done. It's a whole thing that really it's very personal to you and your experiences and what you're going through. So let's open up the conversation. And before we do, I just want to anchor on what even is a peptide, because I think this word gets thrown around and a lot of people don't understand. So first of all, peptides have been around. There are really well-researched peptides like collagen peptides. Our body produces many peptides, and we get peptides from food. So this, by the way, is one of the most rapidly evolving areas in health right now, in both sides of the fence. And I want you to know that this science is undeniably revolutionary. This is like the AI of health, for better or for worse, with all of the pros and all of the cons. And we know that we have really sound therapeutic applications for these things. But we also know that we don't have a lot of long-term safety testing. We don't have all the evidence in, and there is a lot of hype without a lot of consideration for all of the other pieces of the puzzle. So your body eats protein, and I want you to think of that protein as a big, long chain. That chain then gets broken down into smaller chains, which are called peptides, and then those chains get cleaved into single links of a chain, which are called amino acids. So we eat protein, that protein gets broken down into smaller pieces, which are peptides. Those peptides get broken down into amino acid, which are the usable nutrients for our body. You've heard of amino acids, that's lysine and tyrosine and threonine, tryptophan. Those are all amino acids that are pretty common. You can go into a grocery store and buy any of those. So we have a good awareness of amino acids. I think most people have heard of them and what's going on there. So the peptides are proteins that aren't fully reduced to their amino acid size. They remain as peptides and get used by the body, and your body also produces them. So in the human body, it is estimated that there's anywhere from 7,000 to 100,000 distinct bioactive peptides. This depends on how we're counting peptides, what we're considering a peptide, which is a little bit arbitrary right now. But at the end of the day, we know there are at least tens of thousands peptides in the body, which is, whoa, like mind-blowing. It shows us there is so much happening in the human body that we don't even know. We can't even begin to understand. Our understanding of the human body has barely scratched the surface, which is amazing considering all the eyes, all of the funding, all of the experimentation, all of the intervention that we have on this machine we don't really understand. I also want to anchor that modern medicine has only been around for a few hundred years. The healthcare system that supports a majority of the population is so incredibly new. Where when we talk about Ayurveda or traditional Chinese medicine, these are systems that have been around for thousands of years. We have thousands of years of efficacy, of tweaking, of tinkering, of documentation, of study, of implementation behind. So when I use something in my practice that's got traditional Ayurvedic or traditional Chinese medicine use behind it, I have this confidence, this understanding that we know how it works. We might not know it from our current model, our current scientific lens, but we have a lot of really good supporting evidence of, I'm going to use this herb or use this system or use this nutritional therapy. This is what I expect in this person. Modern medicine is so much newer than that. So just keep that in mind as we go through these conversations. So peptides sit at a really strange intersection because they're not classified or regulated like a drug yet. Some of them are. Some of them have patents on them. My understanding is that these peptides have been discovered and studied, and then pharmaceutical companies took a few, tweaked them a little bit, and put patents on them. So those are like your Ozempic, your Trizepatide, your Mongiorno. You can't say that one without kind of like Mongiorno. It's those ones that are regulated like drugs. But then there's all these other peptides that are being researched right now. They don't have FDA approval yet. A lot of them are in late stage trials. So like Retatrutide is in phase 3 trials right now. It's not approved by the FDA yet, and you can't technically buy it for human use yet. And this is where the gray market comes in. These peptides are being sold as research chemicals, and research chemicals are not fit for human consumption, but people are obtaining them and using them anyway. But the data's not in, the studies aren't done. We don't know the full scope of the side effects, of the efficacy, of any of the information yet. But that weird intersection I'm talking about is because these are not regulated like drugs, because all of the data and information is not being held by pharmaceutical companies, it is out there for the public. And we have this like renegade health scene coming up. And I think this really started during COVID, but we have this like alternative fringe renegade health scene on the market. I call it bro science. But people have access to this information. And they have access to these research chemicals. So people are bypassing the doctors that they don't trust. They're bypassing the pharmaceutical industry that they don't trust, rightfully so. And they are taking their health into their own hands. And they have created this market for the selling of these gray market peptides, for the education, for all of it. So that's the intersection, right? Like modern medicine is interested in these things. Pharmaceuticals companies are threatened by this peptide gray market because they aren't being regulated like drugs. But the people have access to them and they have information on them. And you can pop onto YouTube and learn about them. And you can start doing your own research and understanding these things with the information that we have available to us. So it's an interesting time and an interesting place to be in. And when all of this first came into my purview, it was the GLP-1s. It was that Ozempic craze that started happening, right? Like every celebrity you knew, all of those people that needed to lose the last 15 pounds started taking this drug. And I had definite thoughts of judgment on that space. It's the same judgment that comes from my lens of, I know that there's a difference between weight loss and health. And I know this personally. I went on a huge weight loss journey years ago, and while I lost a bunch of weight, I did not gain a bunch of health. So I learned in a very profound, visceral, personal way that weight loss is not health. And when I saw what was happening with Ozempic, I'm calling it Ozempic, but all of the GLP ones, I got concerned and judgy because I am such a crusader for truth and all of the things that I believe that I know in order to be healthy, in order to come back into balance, we have to take a different approach. It just cannot be focused on the weight loss. Like, we need to make sure we are in balance. Like, are we digesting our food? Do we have enough nutrients? Do we have the waste coming out of our body? Like, what's going on with our muscle mass? Like, all of these other components that are not being considered because people were on the quest to lose weight. And weight only driven methods cause issues. They do not always lead to health. I'll just really quickly, I lost my period for a year when I went on my weight loss journey. I was absolutely miserable, so moody, so just anxious and depressed and confused and stuck and didn't sleep and wasn't having daily bowel movements. And while parts of me felt good, I was running on cortisol and adrenaline and vomiting up most of my meals and rewarding myself for really dangerous behavior, like restricting food to an unsafe point, um, rewarding myself for skipping meals and turning down food. Like, I got off on it. And at the end, I had this really severe eating disorder that I have been battling for years, and I continue to battle. And the interesting thing, I actually just saw a video from Dr. K on this today, who's like my favorite YouTuber, by the way. Um, is with things like anorexia and other eating disorders, like, you get a sense of control. You get to control what's coming in your body, and you get to control what's not coming in your body. And for people that feel out of control in your life, that amount of control is really special. And when you're trying to heal an eating disorder, it's really hard because a part of you doesn't think you're doing anything wrong. Well, like, yes, a part of me, when I was vomiting at most of my meals, knew I was doing damage. Like, I knew the energy that should be going downwards was getting reversed upwards. I knew that I was going to be damaging my esophagus. I knew my body wasn't getting enough nutrients, but the other part of me was rewarding myself because it was going to lead to skinny. And for all of the disorderedness that happened in my upbringing and in the society we lived in, that is all I cared about, was how do I fit in? How do I have a body that fits in? How do I have a face that fits in, right? Like, I'm 6'2", I'm awkward. I am not like your stereotypical female. And I always tried to put myself in a body and be a person that wasn't me. And that's really dissatisfying at the end of the day. Like, that really isn't the quest that leads to health and happiness, and something that I've really had to sit with and unwind over the years, you know? Now I don't feel that same way. I love my body. I have no problem showing up here with no makeup and my hair messily pulled back. Like, that's not me. That's not what makes me. And while, you know, yes, I want to present at a certain caliber, like, my concerns in the world go beyond what's happening in my physical body. But that doesn't mean that there's still not parts of me that have that noise and that struggle. And some days I don't want to eat breakfast because I don't want to be fat. Or some days, you know, I've done so much restricting that, like, the floodgates are open and I just cannot get enough food to satisfy something on a really deep level. So when I watched the Ozempic craze, it struck a personal chord, and I got really judgy because the work I do now centers on, are we coming back into balance? Are we making lifestyle changes? Are we making behavioral are we making behavioral changes? Like, are we doing this for health? And I will tell you, in my practice, I will not take anybody on who only cares about weight loss. Weight loss can be part of the mission, totally. Like, yes, excess weight is not healthy. Neither is being underweight. But I won't take anybody on who only purely desires weight loss. Like, if we can't anchor on some other things like improved energy or health or other markers, then I can't serve you in a healthy way, and that's not a project I'm gonna participate in. So, I am very cognizant of the dangers that we fall in on this quest for a smaller us, and I'm cognizant about it in my work. I considered myself informed about these things because I've lived it and I've experienced it, and I continue to work through that and unwind that noise, that is just kind of a low thrum now, but it does rear its ugly head. So, obviously, Ozempic craze struck a chord, and people I knew started doing it, and I felt judgment because it wasn't done in the way I thought was the quest for health, and it was a shortcut, right? Like, we're bypassing our dietary changes, we're bypassing our nutrition changes, we're bypassing that's the same thing. We're bypassing our lifestyle and behavioral changes. It's a shortcut, and shortcuts have consequences. So I kind of stayed in that spot for a couple years, and I wanted nothing to do with the Ozempic GLP-1 peptide craze. Now, I will say there are two sides of the fence when you are online. There are people that are vehemently against it, and then there are people that are just vehemently for it and overhyping and overpromising. I, as with most things, am on the middle path right now. And as I really started to talk to people using these tools and observe things happening and watching people's lives change and watching the technology and seeing the information come out of the benefits beyond weight loss, right? Like metabolic improvements, reversal of obesity and diabetes, autoimmune diseases being put in remission, endometriosis being put in remission, inflammation being taken care of, like all of these other pieces of the puzzle are promising and undeniable. And at a certain point, I realized that this is something we have to pay attention to in the alternative health and wellness space because I have people interested that I work with. I have people that are curious or that are going to use these tools or that do already use these tools, and I need to be informed to best support them. We will get into more of kind of the underbelly of these things in a minute. But I saw people who have just struggled with weight in a really profound way for a really long time, and they've come off of their oxygen and their heart transplant list, and they've taken care of lifelong obesity patterns that nothing else could budge, and they felt good in their bodies, they felt confident, they felt a renewed sense of control that has never been there. And I realized that Ozempic is a symptom. It's a symptom of a greater problem. We have really pushed people to be in bodies that don't fit, right? Like curvy women like me were never told to embrace their curviness and just like be who they are, right? And I'm not saying be overweight to a point of unhealthy. I am saying that some bodies carry more cushioning than others, and that's great. We need to celebrate that and accept the spectrum of different body types and not compare everybody to this Hollywood standard that's impossible for most people to upkeep, and the people that do upkeep it are causing damage in a different way. So really exploring that lens of it, I think, is important, but also people are fed up because they've been so let down by the system in such a profound way, right? Like, I think one of the leading causes of obesity is nutrient deficiencies. So we started eating ultra processed food. Over 70% of our food supply is ultra processed. That means no nutrients. That means that is a contributing factor, right? Like, there's educational issues, there's food access issues, there are misinformation issues, right? Like, look at the food pyramid that we've lived with for so many years that just told us to eat a bunch of carbs and wheat and bread and gluten and things that have shown to be very problematic for most people. Look at all of the people that did XYZ diet, right? Like, I know I've come up from years of restriction. I know my parents have come up from years of dieting and restriction. And it's like people are over it. We're over it. We're done being told that, remove all the fat and eat everything fat free and you'll be skinny. And nobody told us they were going to replace it all with sugar and then create an even worse epidemic with obesity and diabetes and sugar addictions and nutrient deficiencies. So, like, we are at a place where I think people are just done with it. I'm done with it. I'm really understanding better that people are just in a position where, of course, this looks appealing because they've been so misled. They've done so many years of restriction. They've been lied to. They don't know what's up from down in how to stay healthy, how to stay fit, how to stay metabolically balanced because everything in our modern society starts working against them. So when a tool comes out that's effective and easy, right? Like you're not having to guess at what diet's going to be right for you. You're not having to guess at what exercise regimen is going to be good for you. Like you just know you're going to do this injection once or twice a week and it's going to work is liberation for so many people. And I understand that now, and my heart has completely softened. So, on top of the weight loss piece, where of course, again, people are fed up and it goes so far beyond move more and eat less, right? Like that's what we've been told our entire lives, move more, eat less. And that's wrong. There's more to the picture, right? Like we have to correct nutrient statuses. We have to balance our hormones. We have to take out stressors. We have to sleep. Like there's so many pieces to the picture that are there. So people that are just like, oh, judging and uh, not appreciating where people are at or understanding where people are at and telling them that Ozempic is not okay because it bypasses behavioral and lifestyle changes. Again, I think there's more nuance there that we need to honor because these people are confused and they don't know. They haven't been guided. Like people are just done and I get it. On the other side of this conversation though, is there's other benefits coming out about these peptides, and people are using them for so many more things than just weight loss, which is really, I think, what interests me. Um, there's somebody in my life who was in a really bad car accident like 6 years ago, and he broke his hip, and he's never been the same since. Shattered his hip. They replaced the hip and they kept telling him there shouldn't be any pain. You should be fine. You should have made a full recovery. But, it was a major trauma in his life. And he hasn't been able to hardly walk since. And he's on Retatrutide, which is one of the slang names is a GLP-3. It's a triple agonist. And it has been absolutely just revolutionary for him on it for 3 months. He's lost a significant amount of weight. His inflammation's gone way down. His pain is reduced. He's able to walk better. He's able to work better. He has a physical job as a chiropractor, and his mood's better. His motivation's better. He's able to have more direction and clarity because this pain inflammation piece is being helped in a way that he hasn't found a tool to help him yet. So this has been life-changing for him. And like I said, I know a lot of other people that it's been life-changing for. And we have to consider and honor this. So I'm going to tell you a little bit more about what's going on behind the scenes because it's not just you take an injection and all of a sudden you lose weight. I am on, right now, Retatrutide. I am taking true microdoses. I'm at 0.5 milligrams. And a lot of people say they're microdosing peptides where they're at therapeutic doses. So I am at a very, very low dose. I've only been on it for a couple weeks. And I will tell you some of the experiences I'm having. And we will get into, if you are interested, if you're going to take these things, here are some considerations. So that will be, I want that here built in for you specifically as somebody that may be interested in utilizing gray market peptides, not gray market peptides, whatever. I want you to be equipped with some empowerment and education and my honest, true take. So My mom went on Mongiorno, must have been like 2 years ago now. And she said, I wish you could just try this because for the first time in my life, I feel liberated. I don't have the food noise in my head. She grew up always restricting, always dieting since she was a little kid because she comes from a family of women that are expected to keep their bodies tight for their husbands. And, like there was so much body shaming, food shaming involved that she picked up the habits of I need to start dieting and restricting as a little kid, right? Like chunky little kid. That was her experience. Very, very sad. I relate. And she's like, for the first time in my life, like food is not something I'm obsessed with. The food noise is gone. And I clocked that as very interesting because I know one of the ways that these peptides work is by suppressing the appetite. But it's not just appetite suppression. It is like this doling of the dopamine that we get from eating food. And she's been telling me for years, like, I wish you could just experience this. So an opportunity came up for me to take some gray market peptides. Somebody gifted me some Retatrutide. And let me caveat this. Do what I say, don't do what I do. I feel very confident being very experimental on myself. I have a high risk tolerance and a high tolerance for accepting the adversities that come with experimentation on myself. I continually throw myself out of balance, testing new herbs, testing new supplements, trying new things, because the more experiences I have, the better I can serve people. The more I trust or understand an herb or a supplement, the better I can help whoever I'm working with implement that, understand it, relate to it, ally with it. So I decided to try the Retatrutide. Intelligently, right? Like I'm not jumping in at a fat dose. I'm doing this very calculated. And this is something I sat on for a couple months. Like I didn't immediately jump in and say yes. I'm not using it as a quick fix for anything. I'm not using it to lose a bunch of weight because I can't lose the weight other ways. I am using this one as an experiment to see what happens, to see if it's something I can throw my weight behind and say, yes, I recommend this, and to experience the sensations and what's happening. And while I got a couple pounds I could lose, I've been in a very healing phase of my life trying to heal from the eating disorder and like have not been in a place that I'm willing to restrict for years. I care about fueling my body, nourishing my body, listening, being intuitive, tuning in. Like those are the things I've been working on. And my priority has not been get skinnier, get skinnier, get skinnier. I don't have that in me anymore. But like I could lose a few. So I decided to try the Retatrutide. And I am hypersensitive. I am very tuned into my body. And when I try a new herb, when I try a new supplement, I can tune into it pretty quickly. I can feel what's happening in my body. I can feel what's happening in my client's body sometimes. I have a very intuitive sense of these things. And so even at my tiny, tiny dose of 0.5 milligrams, I started feeling things happening immediately. Now, we can call that placebo. We can call that something else, but I immediately clocked like the movement of this thing in my body. And I will say it is very unsettling doing injections on yourself. That was a whole new world. Like it feels like you're like shooting up or something. Like there's definitely a feeling behind the injection that was weird and I had to kind of overcome. But you are literally doing subcutaneous, so injections into your fat with the peptides. So you're, taking your insulin needles that you buy online and you're poking them in your little bottle and you're getting the right amount and then you're injecting it into your fat. And so that was really strange. Not as bad as I thought it'd be, but definitely like a weird thing. My partner's like, "Oh, we're injecting things now." And I'm like, "Oh, I guess we are." Like it feels like a whole other level than like enemas, herbs, supplements, whatever. So I will just say that. But within a couple days, I would say I noticed shifts. And now again, I've only been on this for a couple weeks, but I want to share with you some of the things I'm noticing. So first of all, the food noise that was mentioned is muted. It is definitely muted. It's not obsessive. I'm not waking up thinking, what's for coffee? What's for breakfast? It's more like food's there and I'm not interested. And it was really interesting because the first week I was on it, like, could not eat protein. Not protein. I could not eat animal fat. Sorry. The first week I was on it was really interesting because I had no interest in heavy foods like proteins. Eggs felt repulsive, meat felt repulsive. Like all I wanted to eat was veggies and khichdi. So I was just eating a ton of veggies and rice and lentils, like really easily digestible foods. I was experiencing some digestive issues when I first went on it. I did an experiment on myself and went a little sideways. So um I was like, I came onto it a little like funky in the digestive area, and that's since normalized. So that was a little bit coloring my initial experience, was like this digestive thing I was dealing with as I was going on it. But the food noise was definitely muted. And yesterday was the first day that I haven't drinking coffee in a while. I've gone on and off coffee for the years, but I am definitely in an era where I've been on coffee. And yesterday I didn't drink coffee and I didn't miss it. And I had a little bit of green tea, but like it wasn't even for the caffeine, and I didn't experience a caffeine headache, and it wasn't like I felt all these withdrawals. Um that like the craving for coffee was not there. Like I didn't want the extra stimulation. I didn't want the heat from coffee. It was super interesting because again, like coffee is a joy of life for me. Coffee's been something I've been mildly obsessed with for, 15, 16, 17 years. And so for the first time, like coffee not having a hold on me was very interesting. And I noticed like food didn't have a hold on me in either direction. Like I wasn't punishing myself for eating things that I didn't deem as quote unquote perfect for my eating disorder brain, but I also wasn't like obsessed with food. Like it definitely shifted my food narrative very quickly and in a very interesting way. And I really started to notice like first week that I could see this unearthing some eating disorder tendencies, because I used to get off on not eating, right? Like I would reward myself. I would get like dopamine from turning down food or not fully finishing a meal or whatever. Like, walking around with hunger was like, "Ooh, I'm doing it. I'm in control. I'm getting skinny." So I could see, because it blunts your appetite so hard, and I could, take a couple bites of a meal and be like, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not going to have to worry about eating for hours. I could see that really kind of unearthing those eating disorder tendencies very quickly, because it is a tool that blunts the hunger pains that make it easier to survive on less food. And that to me is a slippery slope for myself and for other people. So I really want to call that out, first of all, that I can see this being a very effective tool to reinforce eating disorder behavior. Because at the end of the day, we can restrict and we can restrict and we can restrict, but our body needs a certain amount of nutrients to keep things status quo and to keep things in balance. And chronic restriction has downside effects, that has downstream side effects. We are going to harm our metabolism. We are going to induce nutrient deficiencies. We are going to cause all kinds of issues, and we are going to reshape our relationship with food in a negative way. So I began being hyper aware of that pretty quickly, and just I'm in an observation mode. I am just gathering data, understanding, and using it to inform my opinions on these things and my experience with it, and is it something I'm continuing on with or not? And, like, this morning, for example, like, I started making breakfast and I'm like, "Oh, nothing sounds good." Like, my normal breakfasts don't sound good. And so I finally, like, landed on some things that sounded good. I made myself breakfast. I didn't eat it right away, and normally I try to eat within an hour of waking up, for all the reasons. And so I didn't eat in the first hour, but I said, "You are eating everything you made for breakfast." And I didn't make a big breakfast, but I've realized because it blunts the food noise and the cravings and the hunger so much, you have to be diligent about eating. Like, you have to be diligent to make sure that you are eating enough. My goal is not severe weight loss. I'm not trying to drop, 60 pounds here. I'm not trying to induce nutrient deficiencies. So I told myself that we're eating, we will eat. Whether we're hungry or not, we're going to eat. Which brings up another issue because I do believe that a source of disease is the ignoring of bodily urges. So ignoring our urge to eat when we're hungry, ignoring our urge to stop when we're full, ignoring urges to sneeze or to orgasm or to have a bowel movement or to urinate, like suppressing any urges leads to disease. You are stopping the natural flow of energy that your body wants or needs, and it leads to imbalances that lead to disease states. So now we have an exogenous tool that is helping to modulate our hunger and fullness cues, which is bypassing us and what we're feeling in our body. Now, some of the pros here are the food noise is gone. I am eating what I would say less, but I only wanna eat healthy foods. Like, my tolerance for things that don't serve me is lower. And I've also noticed, like, my tolerance and my want to doom scroll on the internet is lower. Like, I find my phone so addictive. And if you don't find your phone addictive, it's amazing. Like, look, I'm checking it right now to see what's up, and there's nothing up. But I noticed, like, I have been less attached to my phone since starting the Retatrutide, and I've been able to focus more on my meditative practices, on reading books, on working on my business, on serving people than I have before because some of this like dopamine generating noise is quieted. So I'm spending more time walking, I'm spending more time in nature, I'm spending more time doing the slow things. And I do think that the Retatrutide is part of it. So while we have a con of, this major blunting of some natural signaling, we also have this pro of it's muting some of the noise in the world and it's making it easier for me to function and exist in this world the way that I want to. It's important to me that I take space and tend to my mind and I ground and I meditate and I spend time in nature and without demands on me. And this is actually improving that experience and my ability to do that. And I think that is really, really cool and something that I want to pay attention to and experience more while being hyper aware of not falling back into negative patterns with food and really like using food as a tool to nourish myself instead of something to get off on. Whether I'm getting off on eating things I don't want to actually be eating or I'm getting off on restricting, like maybe there is a way to work through some of my relationships with food because with this space between me and what I'm going to call the food noise, there's room to observe. Between more space between me and this like electronic vice that I always have in my hand that I don't want to always have in my hand, there's room to pause and observe. Same with my relationship with coffee. I am able to put down an addictive substance that I have been hooked on since I was 17. And coffee is not all good. It's not all bad. Like it's nuanced. But for me, I don't want to be held hostage by any substance. And coffee has held me hostage for a lot of my life. And so not drinking it yesterday, drinking it less, not drinking my first cup till 11 instead of at 7, has been really interesting. And I poured myself some coffee here, just I made cold brew last night and I'm not interested in it. Like, it's not interesting me right now. Like, I'm drinking my aloe vera juice and some tea, but the coffee is not interesting me right now. And I think part of that is because, um, I feel a little warmer taking the Retatrutide. Again, I'm at a very low dose, by the way. Like, the phase 3 trials right now are being done at 12 milligrams as a dose. I'm at 0.5 milligrams. So I'm 1/24th of the um full therapeutic dose that's in trial right now. Just I want to bring that back, and I'm already experiencing these things on this level. But my body doesn't want the extra heat, like, it doesn't want the extra stimulation, and I've noticed I've been having some, like, really extreme temperature fluctuations, like, I've been waking up really, really hot or in the day just getting really, really hot and then really, really cold, and I think that's some metabolic processes happening for better or for worse. It's something I pay attention to, but I'm noticing these extreme temperature just swings, and my body doesn't want this substance of coffee contributing to that right now. So, we need to talk about some of the downsides to the peptides and the blunting of the food noise and the signaling and all these things that kind of stem from this. So if you have an eating disorder, I would say be very cautious and aware if it were something you were going to partake in, because that is something that can really easily get retriggered or resurfaced, and I wouldn't want that for you or for anybody. So I think that that piece needs a high level of awareness and conversation about it, and I haven't heard anybody else speaking into that yet. So hopefully that this conversation reaches anybody who needs to hear it, and you can be better informed about your goals and your um, potential risks. So now, part of these peptides is the weight loss that's coming. Like, people are losing a lot of weight, 24% of their body weight, or these big numbers that are really impressive. But what's happening, and part of my concern, is that not all the weight being lost is fat. We are seeing a significant amount of muscle loss. And it is easier to lose fat and put it back on than it is to lose muscle and build that muscle back on. Building muscle is hard. It takes a calorie surplus, and when you lose muscle, you are opening yourself up to some serious degenerative problems in your life. So we have this population that's taking these peptides. They're losing a lot of weight, they're losing a lot of fat, but they're also losing a lot of muscle, which is our structural integrity of our body that's really important. So there's been um, losses of up to 36% of the weight loss being muscle. And that's scary to me. That is actually really, really concerning. Now, when I was digging in and preparing to talk about this today, I did do a little bit of research into muscle loss in normal weight loss interventions. And muscle loss is a part and concern of just weight loss in general, but it is magnified here. People are losing more muscle comparatively depending on what they're taking. Each one of these peptides works a little bit differently. So the muscle loss percentage is different from person to person. It's different from drug to drug or peptide to peptide. And it's happening on a spectrum, but it's happening in a way that it's prevalent enough we need to be aware of it as a pitfall. And so the first thing I'm going to say, that anybody taking any of these peptides or GLP-1s needs to be doing strength training. They need to be taking precautions to maintain their muscle mass. They have to. It's a non-negotiable at this point to mitigate that risk, because if you lose a bunch of weight and it's muscle, one, you're not going to like how you look. You're going to look skinny fat. It's not going to be what you want it to be. And you are going to lower your metabolic functioning, right? Like muscle does so much in the body. And when you come off of this drug and you don't have the muscle there, it's going to be a problem. It's going to lead to quicker weight gain. It's going to lead to these metabolic issues coming back. It's going to induce and possibly leave people in a worse state than when they started the drug, even though they lost some fat. So that is one of the absolute biggest red flags that I'm seeing and I want to be aware of. There's also bone loss, like bone density loss. And that's already a problem, especially for certain populations, certain age groups, and especially women. And part of that comes from, I think, just the utter nutrient deficiencies that start being induced when we undereat, when we calorie restrict. And that's what's happening here. We're undereating, we're restricting, and it's leading to fat and bone loss. So that is something that I would also be very aware of. Like, I don't know if the answer is to start getting DEXA scans when you go on these things. I would definitely recommend monitoring your lab work, monitoring different nutrient statuses and how different organs are functioning, but those are very concerning pieces of the puzzle. When we undereat, we induce nutrient deficiencies, and nutrient deficiencies lead to disease. 100%. That is very, very real risk that we need to be aware of and we need to talk about. So, as you are considering something like this, consider the side effects and the risks, and those are some very, very real risks. And because the modern medical lens doesn't take this holistic approach, they're not looking at the whole body. They see we're looking for weight loss, we give people this drug, they lose weight, we succeeded. They're not looking at, is this person healthy? Is this person maintaining health? Is this person happy? Are they in balance? That is a distinction that's really, really important. So as you do something like this, continuing to monitor and look at everything from that holistic view is key. It is absolutely a non-negotiable. Are we having daily bowel movements? Are we sleeping? How is our mood? What does our skin look like? Are we looking lustrous? Are we looking healthy? Are we looking alive? Are we looking bright in our eyes? Or are we losing weight and looking sickly and skinny? Because I see people that lose weight and don't look healthy. When I lost a lot of weight, I did not look good. I lost weight. I was thin, quote unquote, but I didn't look good. I didn't look in my power. So there's a lot of people that you can see sunken cheeks and sunken eyes. And again, they've lost the weight, but they've lost something more than the weight. And that's something that we really need to be aware of and tuned into. Because there is a difference between weight loss and health, and I think these tools can be used as a tool in a holistic, comprehensive approach, but I don't think they can be used in isolation. That is my conclusion. If we're using these tools, we need to do so with so much consciousness and so much awareness. I truly believe at the end of the day that there's no such thing as a bad medication or medicine. There's only bad applications of this. And if we let people take these things without considering all of these other functions and pieces, from the mind and the mental health to the nutrient status to daily bowel movements, then we are doing a disservice, and we are inducing states of health. We are inducing different states of, the opposite of health. The other thing I want to talk about is my theory. So you're not going to hear this anywhere else because it's my theory. But I think that peptides might, like anything, be really great for some people and higher risk or problematic for other people. And I believe that we can look at this through an Ayurvedic lens and see who this is going to work for. So I'll give you an example back to that man I was talking about who got in the car accident and hurt his hip and has seen really, really good success with Retatrutide. It has helped his digestion tenfold. He used to have mega, mega digestive issues, and the Retatrutide has normalized his digestion. He's now having better, solid evacuations. He's not having all of these digestive issues that he normally has. And I think it's because this man is very pitta, like very, very, very pitta, maybe like a pitta kapha mix, but his digestion was most likely Tikshna Agni. So this is burning too hot, and that means things move through your system too quickly. The Retatrutide slows gastric emptying. So in this type of person, so these pitta people tend towards these pitta digestive issues, which is called Tikshna Agni. And other people who aren't super pitta from the Ayurvedic lens can have the same digestive pattern. But this digestive pattern in this type of person is, again, everything runs hot and quickly, and the Retatrutide slows that down. So it slows down your gastric emptying. It slows down motility, which is part of why you feel full on it. And I think for someone who has this really hot digestion, that slowing everything down is really helpful because it gets things more time to extract the nutrients and to digest. And instead of everything just burning through, moving through the system super quickly before it can get digested, it is moving differently. It's moving slower. And I think that's allowing the nutrients to be better assimilated and better digested. So for this people with this Tikshna Agni, which is like a really strong, overly digestive fire, this might be really, really helpful. But for somebody with either Vishma Agni or Sama Agni, so Vishma Agni is variable digestion, which is digestion that oscillates between constipation and this too quick. We kind of go back and forth between too slow and too quick. Or for somebody whose digestion is just too slow, the added delayed gastric emptying is going to be problematic. So when I'm working with someone, motility is something I'm paying attention to. How long does it take for you to eat something, that's something to be digested by your stomach, move through your small intestines to have the nutrients extracted, move to the large intestines to be evacuated? This is something that I'm paying attention to because it gives me information on how optimal your digestion is running. And if we are slowing down something that's already slow and things are sitting in the system longer and they're fermenting and waste is building up and gas is building up and we are going to have this toxic backload, that's going to be problematic. That's not going to be beneficial. And so we either need to find ways to support that, or maybe it's not a good fit. So I had a couple, both of them were on Mongiorno, and the husband was doing really, really well with it. Great bowel movements. He added in a little extra fiber and was having, perfect bowel movements every day. And he's excess pitta, very hot, runs very heat, fast forward energy, where the woman was a little bit more cophagenic, a little bit more sama agni, so slower digestion, slower motility, and the GLP-1 she was on was constipating her. So she had to bring in some herbs to get that daily bowel movement going. And I think that's a really important consideration of this is going to impact everybody differently. And if people are coming into it from different digestive points, then they're going to have different experiences for better or for worse. And I think we can kind of do some shortcutting here by assessing what doshic balance somebody currently has, right? Like, are they excess vata pitta kapha? What's the state of their digestion? Is it Vishma Agni variable? Is it Tikshna Agni too fast, or is it Sama Agni too slow? That's a very crude Ayurvedic way of looking at that, but the Ayurvedic typing for a person's constitution and their current imbalances is like forever invaluable no matter what you're doing. It is just so helpful in giving you short codes to recognize patterns that support people quicker. And so I think that these peptides might really support one class of people, but might not support this other class of people. Now, the people that need that food noise silencing and that dopamine blunting the most are these vata people. So it might help in Vata constitutions or imbalances in a different way than it does in these Pitta people, which is really interesting. It might be like we're getting the pro here and the con here, and maybe what we end up with is net negative. Maybe it's net positive. Maybe we can support everything in a holistic ways using the tools that I use to make it a more balanced approach. But I think it's very, very interesting to start looking at this through an Ayurvedic lens. And the people that are pushing peptides online, again, who I call the bros, the bro scientists, are all very Pitta people. They're all very hot. They're all very driven. They're very moving fast and productive and let's go, hustle culture. That is the constitutional type that I am talking about that is hawking the peptides. So they might be experiencing that it's working really, really well for them, and they're pushing it for other people, not knowing that if other people are experiencing different constitutions and imbalances than they are, it might not work the same. So that is just something that I am mulling over as one of my clinical theories right now. And I definitely think there's something to it. And as I continue to work with clients one-on-one, to support people, to listen to people in my own personal life, and to have my experience on the Retatrutide, which I may or may not continue on. I haven't decided yet. I definitely appreciate an experiment, but I am not going to be doing something that's damaging or damning to my body. So I have to continually tune in and assess, is this worth it? Is this worth it? Is this worth it? Then I will not continue if I don't need to. I feel no attachment to the peptide, and I, as somebody who likes to stay in states that aren't augmented, have to take that into consideration because it is augmenting in my state in a way, and some of it's for better and some of it's for worse, and I have to continue to tune in and see how I feel about that. So if I do continue on, I will do some updates periodically and let you guys know how it's going. And if I don't continue on, I will also let you guys know how it's going. And I've really realized that sharing my personal experiences is just as important as sharing the clinical information I have, because people get to relate to that, because people get to come see themselves in my experiences and what I've dealt with on a health level. So that's something that I'm trying to be more vocal about, because these things are really important, and I think some different lenses and conversations on some things is gonna be really helpful. I feel pretty complete on what I wanted to come here and say today. I hope that you have some more clarity if this is something you're considering. You are more than welcome to reach out to me if you do want to talk about your specific situation. I help people through their health, especially those with chronic and complex conditions, every single day. And if you're interested in a consult or any of the work I do, check the links below and let me know how I can support you. I'd also like to open up this conversation if you have questions or things we'd like dived into more, or if you want to share your personal experiences with me privately or on the comments, please do so, because I want to hear from you. I want to hear if any of this resonated. I want to hear if you relate to the food noise, to the motility things, or if you have been considering these things and if this helps sway you in one way or the direction. Like, let me know. I am so interested. And I will say that that's it. I'm complete, and I will see you guys next time.